All right. Hello and welcome to a special Thursday edition of the Burnham Brothers College Football Podcast. And my name is Pat Burnham. I'm joined by my brother Shane, and we have a very special guest today, Jeff Woody, an ESPN college football analyst, and Iowa State's version of Cam Scatterbo before there was a Cam
Gritty, hardworking.
That's right.
First one in, last one out. Coachable. That's deceptively quick.
Truly a throwback Thursday here. Reconnecting with Jeff. I love it. This is awesome. A great addition. Welcome, Jeff.
Thank you. Yeah, Shane was yelling at me on special teams long before I was talking on a microphone. So Shane was the kicks guy. So the punt return and kickoff cover were the two units, and I got my first actual action playing football on kickoff cover and punt return as a wedge buster back when you could actually form a three-man wedge. And it was, hey, Jeff, you need to run that. See that guy that's 265 right there? You need to run right through his inside number. Sign me up.
By the way, there's another 265-pound guy standing hip to hip with him.
Right next to him. Yep.
If you can
go get him, Tiger.
Those two guys and come out on the other side.
The good news is, if you say something wrong, he may yell at you on this podcast. So it'll feel like old times.
I imagine that.
He's going into his second year out of coaching, but he's.
I know he's the juices. You gotta be able to yell at somebody. I imagine you guys with growing up with your dad. The fact of just some friendly trash talk, which may turn unfriendly every once in a while. I imagine that sort of just like exists among the household.
I think there was some trash talking between Shane and I, but you did not trash talk Dad.
I know I did. When I was 13, Jeff, I thought we were not Jewish. I don't know what I thought of 13 made me a man. I walked in the house the day of my 13th birthday, and I called him Wally, and he looked at me sideways, right? And I don't know if he thought he misheard me. I tried it again a few minutes later with my friends in tow, and he said, "Hey, you can call me Coach, you can call me Dad, you can call me Sir, you can call me Mister. You don't call me Wally." And I said, "No, sure, okay, Wally." And before I could even look around, Pat knows this. He was not there. He had me by the throat up against the wall and made sure I knew that I would never be man enough to call him Wally. I think we probably both have those stories, but yeah, it's quite the home to grow up in, Jeff. Very relaxed.
Yeah. I have a very similar story. So one of my biggest issues growing up was I like to talk back. I'm still a smart ass, and I still I'm very sarcastic, and I like getting the last word. So I was about 16 or 17, and he said something to me, and I was feeling confident that day, and so I fired back at him with some kind of snappy remark, and next thing I know, just like Shane, I was up against the wall, and I thought I was 220 pounds. And I was like, there's no way this guy's fixing to lift me up against the wall. And so sure enough, he pins me against the wall, and next thing I know, he's 6'4", full grown at that time, and I'm looking down at him. I was only 6'2", so he had remarkable strength for a 40-something-year-old man at that time. But yeah, no, Shane and I trash talk to this day. We get a little bit more interactive with Dad as he's gotten older, but he's
still Wally. He's still Coach Burnham. You don't screw with him.
I'm sure you had your own story. You probably had some interaction at some point during the inside drill or some drill where you got the best of us and said something to Coach. I'm sure.
I never usually said anything to anybody. Right. I would more or less I would hand the ball off to somebody. Like if I got in the end zone, I would offer the ball to somebody, which Coach Burnham did not like. If I was in the end zone in inside drill, I would offer him the ball. Yeah, that didn't go over super well, but it was funny between him and Coach Pope would walk all the time, and they wouldn't really ever trash talk each other. Between like you and Blyle and Herman and Wally, just the amount of trash talk that went back and forth on that staff was just immaculate.
Were you there when Mangino was there, Jeff?
No. I was gone before Mangino got there. I had Herm for 3 years, and then I had Mess for the last 2.
Okay. A little context for those who are listening to Burnham Brothers here, whether it's on the YouTube or on the podcast itself. Jeff and I were together at Iowa State when I was coaching defensive line. Jeff was a running back for us, a captain, and just a great success story. Walked on for us at Iowa State, had a great career. He's now living up in the Des Moines area as he's runs his own private business. And then, as Pat mentioned, working color and announcing games for ESPN this fall. But That's our context. That's why we're going back here today. But Pat, were you there the night? Obviously, Jeff had a lot of great days for us. But were you there? One, I think his greatest series, at least if you want to go series. All right, that series at Oklahoma State. Were you there? I know we revisit that with Jeff a lot. But were you there that night?
The Friday night game when they were number 2.
That's right.
No, I was still at USF and football ops, and we actually y'all played on Friday night. We played Miami at noon the next day. So we actually lost to Miami 6-3 that day. But yes, I remember that game. I was with Scott Harrell, Bill Reagans at Irish 31 in downtown Tampa watching that game. We watched the first half there, then made it to Hooters right down the street from my house for the second half. And I think that's the latest I've ever stayed up in my adult life the night before I had one of my own games. But yeah, that was a fantastic. I mean, I think I was probably it was a struggle the next morning to be at the stadium at 6 a.m.
Jeff, you had a lot of good moments as a Cyclone. Obviously, that's got to rank up there. What other moments besides that obvious, knocking those guys off? And by the way, I believe if you and I go to Tuscaloosa, there are several Bama friends of mine who, because we knocked Oklahoma State out and Bama got their way into the playoffs, there are beers for us, many beers in Tuscaloosa.
I've heard that, and I went down to Mobile to visit my grandma. She was living down there, and I didn't say it when I was down there. I feel like I should have. But anyway, the other ones, there's other ones that I really like just because of the things, like the nuance on it was a little bit more. Like I think it was in the 2010 or I don't remember 10 or 11 season. I think it was 2010 because Kansas was still good at that point. And we ran a 4-minute grind offense, and I had every carry for that entire 4 minutes. And I think we ran power behind, it was 2010 because KO was still there. We ran power behind KO to the left side just like 7 straight times. And I got the ball all 7 in a row or whatever it was. And we salted the game out. I think we won like 14-10. So that one I like. The Oklahoma State one I like. And then every time we called the play, it's called 361 jab, which is it's the play where it's a full slide protection where the running back is essentially picking up. It's your quick game protection, 5-man slide. I'm responsible for end man, and if they're bringing cover 0, I'm essentially waiting for the plus defender to add off of me and just slip right behind him. I think I caught 4 touchdown passes on 361 jab. Any of those. So those I would say. Because all I had to do is act. Like, just pretend like I'm doing anything. Right. Like, just be a slow, fat, white guy and just get someone's eyes off of you and then go do this. Like, I got it. I can do that.
How big were you when you played? I had you like at 230, 235. Were you that big?
In the first 3 years, it was about 235. And then last couple years, James White was the primary ball carrier. And then I would get maybe 35, 40 snaps a game. Probably 20 of them at running back, the other 20 kind of mixed between special teams and then fullback, H-back, off-ball tight end, stuff like that. So at that point, I was 245, 250, and it was a lot of love handle. That last year, that was a lot of love handle. It was a lot of moob. It was a hefty amount.
It's amazing that you spend so much time, at that age trying to gain weight. You did it, Pat, Jeff.
Now you can't get rid of it.
Now you can't get rid of it. But back then, boy, it was your job, full time trying to eat and get as big as you can. And it's interesting.
Get that neck. Get yourself that 20-inch neck.
Oh, yeah. I remember Terry Bowden at Sanford. He would weigh us every week, and of course, you didn't know. You're so dumb at that age. He would threaten to take scholarship money away from us, right? And at 18, you believe it. I mean, so he's like, if you're not at 235, because I was probably the smallest center in FCS football that was actually on a 2 deep. Now, luckily, I didn't play very much, but I remember going in. I was like, he's going to take meal money away from me. And I only get $20 from mom and dad every week. I mean, and of course, you believe it. So we go to before weigh-in. We would go to the local Chinese all-you-can-eat buffet and eat like 10 pounds of food just before weigh-in, not knowing, of course, that they could not. But yeah, like Shane says, now trying to take off weight is like it's like I'm on this pineapple thing where I'm eating pineapple every day for lunch for the last 3 weeks. I think I've lost half a pound. I mean, it's crazy. But yeah,
your skin looks great though. That's what really matters.
Hey, I did a little AI enhancement today on the skin. They have this. I don't know if it worked or not, but they say it's a tool on
it's all the pineapple. Just credit the pineapple.
That's right. I'm hoping maybe at least to Hawaii at some point. Maybe I'll be living over there.
I joined Jeff and Grant for their podcast on Cyclone Fanatic, and you can shout that. Where do you find that? Just give a shout.
It's on Cyclone Fanatic's YouTube, Cyclone Fanatic, their Cyclone Fanatic podcast network.
So we had a chance to visit and go down memory lane a little bit about a month or so ago, and they've done a great job getting a bunch of Cyclones on there that we were a part of that time. It's fun to hear the old stories. Now in your new role, obviously you moved on and you're still heavily involved in football. And to whatever extent you care to share your new position at ESPN.
Yeah, so I'm covering Big 12 games. So right now is this will be the first year that I'm doing it on this level. I've been calling FCS games for Drake, calling high school games up here. I've had a show on the ABC affiliate up in Des Moines during football season for the last, I think, 11 years. So this is it's sort of like recruiting to get to the level kind of up a step. You have to be good enough that once you've got someone's attention, that they actually want to get more of it. So I've kind of just been working on trying to get enough reps to get in front of somebody, and was lucky enough to have a connection with an ESPN that got my film in front of them for, this is now the second or third year, got some positive notes a couple years back, and interviewed back in April. And then in July of this year, I got an email from the coordinating producer that said they want me to do somewhere between 5 and 7 games for ESPN this year, covering almost exclusively the Big 12, which is, to me, for me, it's a huge step forward. I'm really excited about it. I know my first few game assignments, but I can't release them yet until the ESPN press room does there. But I've already been doing prep on it, and it's I've been talking with Shane. It's the fact that I get paid to watch film is an absolute dream come true. Because going back to being at Iowa State, I was a walk-on white running back from Central Iowa. You think I'm going to get there by athleticism? So I think the only way that I could be on the field was because I had to know what you were doing before you did it. And so I kind of was a film rat, have always been a film rat, because I had to figure out, all right, if we're running inside zone, just an easy, simple play, where do my eyes have to be? What am I trying to influence the linebacker to do? And once he does that, what do I need to do? And if that doesn't happen, what's the backup plan? Like, play the play before it happens. And so now I kind of just get to take that to the broadcast booth. So I'll be I'll be the color analyst for Big 12 games for, I don't know, hopefully 5 to 7 games. And they said perhaps doing FCS playoffs at the end of the year, which would be the best.
Would be awesome.
To be able to go to like Bozeman and call a playoff game, man. That'd be the best. So anyway.
Have you ever been there, by the way? Have you been to Bozeman?
No, never been to Montana.
Oh, my God. We played there when I was in Richmond. It's an unbelievable atmosphere. I think FCS, and certainly I guess it's growing that way with FBS. But, yeah, I love the playoff, the one and done, the desperation of that game. It's awesome.
Yeah, and especially FCS schools, you get like, especially in the kind of the mountain areas, the Dakotas, your North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana, those schools – that's the show. Like in the state of Iowa, we have no pro teams. So Iowa and Iowa State are the show. It is the biggest thing for the state of Iowa. Well, in Montana, they have no Division I teams. They just got 2 really good FCS teams. So that's the show. And so everybody, it's just, it to me, it would be a big time atmosphere. So I just, hey, ESPN coordinating producers, if you're listening, I want that. I want that gig. I want that gig.
I think it's neat. You have a lot of knowledge of the Big 12. You played in these stadiums. You've been in the visiting locker room. Whatever. It'll be fun for you to go back memory lane on some of these assignments, certainly, and then just the knowledge and take people where you've been will be fun. I'm excited for you. Obviously you're a Cyclone by heart, but you got to put that to the side in this role. But we're heading into Farmageddon, a game that you and I know way too well. I think we lost all 4 you and I were a part of, at least by a touchdown or less. I never won that game in my 7 years. It still continues to be a great series since Matt's been there the last 10 years. Of course, Chris Kleiman and the crew at Kansas State have done a great job with that program. Really excited, big game to open the season for those 2 programs and being a conference game. Your take on the Cyclones, I feel like those guys probably better than most.
Yeah, so I'll still be doing the show that I do with the ABC affiliate. Is called Cyhawk Game Day, which is essentially previewing Iowa and Iowa State. So I have to know those 2 as well as I know the teams that I'm going to be calling the game of, at least sort of familiarly. So I would say I'm familiar with Iowa State in a way that kind of going into the season as much as one could be for this era of college football, because there's even Iowa State, where they're They didn't turn the roster over a ton. They brought in a couple defensive linemen, a couple guys in the secondary, 2 new wide receivers, and that's pretty much it. Like their roster's not that different, but it's still, you're replacing. For those that aren't familiar, Iowa State was the only school in the country that had 2 1,000-yard receivers. Both of them got drafted by the Houston Texans. So, interestingly, Xavier Hutchinson, who was the previous 1,000-yard receiver at Iowa State, is also with the Texans. So, it's the Iowa State Texans, but at this point. But
the coordinator is Nick Caley, a former GA at Iowa State. So, the lot of Cyclone.
So, I think there's going to be a lot of Houston Texans merch purchased in the state of Iowa.
Well,
but
you got the strength coach that's there now that's married to
Matt Van Dyke.
That's right.
Matt Van Dyke. He was
recruiting office.
1 year older than me, and so yeah, it's the Iowa State Texans. But anyway, you're replacing those 2 guys, and they've got a lot of guys in the secondary that they're trying to have to break in because they graduated. Darian Porter is with the Raiders. He's a 2nd round draft pick. They got rid of 2. They got graduated 2 safeties that were big time players. But all in all, to me, what the Iowa State season kind of hinges on, their offense is going to be really good. They've got Rocco Becht, who is, if you want to buy stock in a guy, you buy a stock in a Rocco Becht because his dad is an XFL coach. He was a 1st round draft pick for the Jets. The kid has grown up, like you guys, just grown up, just everything. Football is in his cellular organism. And so when you have that as a quarterback, and he's able to then gain some experience, have enough composure to let that experience execute, that's how you win a lot of games. I mean, you guys know just as well as I do, if you got a good quarterback that can execute the way he needs to, it doesn't really matter. Doesn't matter. It matters a lot less what's around him if that guy's a dude. And Rocco is a dude. That, to me, that kind of is the main story. So what the season comes down to is the defense going to get better than what they were last year because their health is better? So last year, Iowa State was 15th out of 16 teams in the run or against the run. They gave up 188 yards a game. Well, that's pretty uncharacteristic from a team that is normally in the top 3 or 4 in the conference. Well, before the year, they play a 3-3-5. Their Sam linebacker, which is their kind of in space outside or outer linebacker, started towards ACL in spring ball. His backup, who started as a true freshman the year before, he hurt his back, didn't come back until week 10. Your Mike linebacker, which is meant to be your big dude, tears his ACL in week 1. His backup sprains his ankle. So you're down both of your 2 deep at Sam and Mike. Then your Will linebacker, you have to break in a true freshman at Will linebacker in the Big 12 in a 3-down front when you're taking on guards every single play. That guy stayed healthy, but then his backup gets hurt. So 5 of your top 6 linebackers got hurt within the first 2 to 3 weeks of last season. By the time you get 3-4 games in, teams know how to attack you. So last year, they were 5-1 in close games, despite having this terrible running defense. If they have that terrible run defense again, you are not going to go 5-1 in those games every single year. So is the defense going to be able to stop the run? I think so, but they're going to have a hell of a test against Kansas State, who was, I think, number 2 in the nation in yards per carry last year, and they return their backup running back, who's now going to be their starter. I think Edwards is his kid's name. They lose DJ Giddens, the NFL.
Edwards, yeah.
Dylan Edwards. And then they have Avery Johnson, who's, he's a 4-3 fast quarterback. So hell of a running game opportunity to see if they can step up in the area that they were weak. If they can stop the run, Rocco's going to win you a lot of games. So this just depends. Can they stop the run? Can their defense step up from what they were last year to be better and to kind of the standard that they'd held for the previous few years?
Yeah, and listen, you may see these 2 teams meet again sometime in early December. This may be a preview of the Big 12 championship game. I'm assuming the Big 12.
It is, and the tiebreakers are weird, but there's 4 teams last year that were 10-2 total, or 10-2 or 9-3. They had 2 losses in conference, and so that's probably about where you'd put the 2 teams that are going to be there. The problem is the Big 12, there's 2 things about the Big 12. So more broadly outside of Iowa State, there's 2 things about the Big 12 that are true. One is teams 1 through about 8 are really, really similar. If you looked at an Arizona State versus an Iowa State versus a Kansas State versus a Baylor versus a Texas Tech versus a TCU, all those teams are pretty good. You put them in any conference, I don't care, SEC, ACC, Big Ten, whatever, they're going to be top 5 to 6 in that conference. The problem is you're going to have a lot of teams that are anywhere between 11-1 and 8-4. Somebody's got to be 8-4. So there's not really a team that is the favorite.
Right.
The other thing on it is the thing that the Big Ten and the SEC and the ACC with a Clemson and a Florida State have is there is a measuring stick in the conference. So even a team, I'm not trying to throw somebody under the bus like this is, I'm not saying they're bad, but a team like an Ole Miss who has not had a lot of playoff success, if they beat a Georgia or they beat an Alabama, you go, that's a good win because it's Alabama, or that's a good win because it's Georgia. So Georgia and Alabama and LSU are the tent poles for the SEC, and now Texas, that they have a measuring stick. Even if you have a close loss to Texas, it's Texas. Well, Big 12 doesn't have a brand like that. I'd say comparatively, if you look at the Arizona State-Texas football game from the playoffs, the football's not that different. So the perception of the football is different. And so you don't have a tentpole team that you could measure your success against. I think Iowa State and Texas Tech are the two teams to me that stand out as the opportunity to be that tentpole team. Texas Tech, because they spent, $25 million on a roster. They have more 5-star transfer or 4-star transfers than anybody else in the country. So they should be really good, and they expect to be good. So if you beat Texas Tech or you lose a close one to Texas Tech, there's at least an option that, that's a good loss. And Iowa State, they better be good with that money. Yeah. So, and Iowa State, though, on the flip side of that, they've got an opportunity with the first game of the year, national television, ranked versus ranked. You beat Kansas State, you become part of the all right, they're good. We saw them win. That's what Georgia Tech did to Florida State last year. Georgia Tech ended up 7-5, 6-6. Florida State wasn't that good, but it was a thing that puts you on the map that you can now measure everything against. Iowa State, when they play Iowa, you know what's happening? Big noon kickoff. So big noon kickoff's coming to watch Iowa State. If Iowa State wins both of those games, they become the team that even if they go 9-3, you have a team that has a perception that they are really, really good because everybody's actually seen them play. So the opportunity that Iowa State has is really high in the conference, and the Big 12 is kind of in a unique position. Like it's really good football. It truly is really good football, but they don't have a brand that they can then measure against, like an Alabama, like an Oklahoma, like a whatever. Oklahoma goes 6-6 last year. Somebody beats Oklahoma, it's a good win. Is it, or is it just because they beat Oklahoma?
Yeah,
no, great point.
Yeah, when I look at I'm looking at Athlons right now. They have a predicted order of finish, and Kansas State, Arizona State, Texas Tech, Iowa State, Baylor, BYU, Utah, the first 7 teams listed. I could see 6 of those 7 teams winning the Big 12 this year. And
I'll throw you out another one. No one expected Arizona State to be good last year. They were picked dead last in the conference. Rich Rodriguez just got back to West Virginia. They spent a bunch of money on their roster too. Noel Devine and is back help coaching at West Virginia. Would it surprise you if Rich Rodriguez is able to put an offense together that can score points and they go 9-3? If they did that, would you be shocked?
Well, as long as he doesn't have South Florida on his schedule, because that's the one team that Rich Rod could not ever beat. But yeah, listen, that was one of my questions for you. Rich Rod, part 2 at West Virginia. Can he rekindle the magic they found there in his first stint in Morgantown? I mean, listen, I think the intensity's ramped up around the program. The expectations certainly are beyond what they had under the last guy. So a lot of people excited about West Virginia. Do you think that he's the kind of coach that can elevate them above where they are at a talent level this year? Because listen, I think the one thing he does not have that a lot of these frontline Big 12 teams, at least perceived to be front lines, he doesn't have a Rocco Beck. He doesn't have an Avery Johnson. He doesn't have the Sawyer Robertson that I believe that's his name at Baylor. He doesn't have one of those guys that we know that we're aware of.
Garrett Green, I think, is the guy, unless he transferred out.
No, he's playing wide receiver for the Tampa Bay Bucks. He's a Tallahassee kid.
Good for him. Tallahassee. Good for him. But so they may not have a quarterback, but the thing that I like about a guy like Rich Rodriguez is I use the term, Lincoln Riley is my kind of like go-to with this offensively, is I call them square peg, square hole guys, where, all right, we've got, let's pick the slowest footed quarterback that I can think of, Tom Brady. Tom Brady is slow as molasses. He's not going to run fast. We should not have a game plan that requires him to run. Right. Well, let's say he graduates. Next quarterback comes in as Lamar Jackson. It's 2 great quarterbacks. what guys like Lincoln Riley and Rich Rod are really good at is morphing their offense to match the personnel that they have. And that's obviously kind of the drastic example is Tom Brady to Lamar Jackson. But you have let's say you've got guards that are really good at down blocks, but they can't, for whatever reason, just keep their shoulders together on zone schemes. Well, you better run a lot of gap scheme. You have to be comfortable enough as a coach to be able to then turn around your brain, and instead of saying, we're going to run zone, we're going to inside zone, because our guys can't do it. And so guys like Rich Rodriguez are really good at finding what our guys can do and marrying that with what our identity as a program is. And so I think he's going to be able to pull it together. I don't know if he's going to be able to do it this year because there is a lot of strength. Like at the top of the conference, the entire top half of the conference is really strong, and they're all really physical too. Like the Utahs, the Iowa States, the Kansas States, the Texas Techs. Those are going to be teams that like put your helmet down, take your gloves off, and we're going to fight each other at the 50-yard line. That's the kind of football that a lot of the teams in the conference are going to play. And I don't know if West Virginia's got the horses to do that yet, but I think you get a guy like Rich Rodriguez who can adapt his offense and recruit to Morgantown. I think West Virginia will be up there. Again, we talk about it when we're FCS stuff. That's the show. That is the show in West Virginia. So there is a lot that matters at West Virginia. So I think they're going to be able to make it work.
Yeah, he's got it. Go ahead, Shane.
I just think it's interesting. There's a guy, he's a program builder. Glenville State, West Virginia the first time, even Michigan, even though they got ran out. I think if you went back, he was there 3 years, and he improved the win total in every year. Arizona got.
And he was filling in for Lloyd Carr, wasn't he? Did he come right after Lloyd Carr?
Yeah,
he replaced Lloyd. Yeah,
replaced.
How do you replace Lloyd Carr?
And even then, I think he went 3-9, and he went 5-7 and 7-5. But he has this track record of building programs, and there's a toughness about him that I think he will bring back to that program. And I think because of that track record, he'll probably have more money to play with, at least early, because the people want to support him. And not to go too far back on your comment about Kansas State, Iowa State. What's neat about Iowa State, if they win that game Saturday, different than Arizona State. Kenny Dillingham building a program. What is it at Arizona State? They're wanting a lot of expectations. I think Matt has the credibility now because of what they've done the last, especially 5 or so years. That if they do win, the national, to your point, the national pundits will, I do think, put them up there.
They'll get the benefit of the doubt. They'll get the benefit of the doubt.
Right.
Yeah.
I've got a question for you on Iowa. I got a question for you on Iowa State since we're jumping around. Listen, Matt Campbell's probably had a chance to leave Iowa State 2 or 3 times since he's gotten there.
At least
he's the winningest coach in the history of the program. What has made him so successful in a place that has had a hard time finding sustained consistency in winning? And he's certainly 64 wins and versus 51 losses in 115 games. And he's, last year, 10 win season for them last year?
Yeah, correct? No offense. They didn't have a lot when they got there. I mean, that was, there was getting and instilling, you talk about culture building. It's, I think a couple things is, at the Temple of Delphi back in ancient Greece, there's 2 things. It was know thyself and everything in moderation. Those are the 2 bits of advice that essentially the Greeks wanted to document in stone for their generations to come. That's the advice they give you. And the know thyself part that Matt has done at Iowa State is terrific, which is, what is Iowa State going to be known for? They essentially pitched everything as, if you want to play football in a Power 5 conference, the Big 12 is Power 5 football. We are the northernmost part of that. We're going to recruit Minnesota. We're going to Wisconsin. It's going to be Ohio. It's Illinois. It's Iowa. What do those guys that you're going to get from Wisconsin, Illinois, Ohio? They're going to be tough as hell. There's going to be some explosiveness and some speed, but you're going to find a lot of big, strong dudes that just want to work. And so you then build a culture around big, strong dudes that want to work, and you're not going to try and play a game that someone else is going to play, because I can't recruit, or I can't be faster than Baylor, but I can be tougher than Baylor. So that's what he's kind of built, and then you start getting some talent. You start getting some guys and identifying the Breece Halls, the Brock Purdy's, the guys that you're going to develop into something, and then you win a little bit. And then you get some guys that do it more, but you're still fitting that program. I think the other thing is that he's been true to himself, and when a guy turns down an offer that everyone knows is out there, it instills more confidence that he's not going to go anywhere, which then you can continue to go into high school living rooms and say, we're not going to go anywhere. I'm not going to take this job. And I think the reason for that is because he's got 4 kids. I think his oldest one is maybe a junior in high school. His youngest one's like in 7th grade. Gilbert, Iowa is a great place to live. Like I think he's making $5 million in central Iowa. Like, you go anywhere else, that money goes a long way. And he can go to his kid's baseball game and say, hey, good job. And there's somebody who's going to go, good game this Saturday, Matt, and then leave him alone. There's no expectations. There's no pressure. He's seen guys, take a job. And like, I'm trying to think of an example who Lincoln Riley took the job at USC, is not doing super great. And now there's pressure all over the place. So I think he's recognizing it, like, you win here, recognize the fit, build the culture. You get a little bit of lightning in a bottle. Don't let that bottle open.
I think it's neat that a lot of people would, hey, how long can we sustain this? Not to go back. Paul had a chance to leave, right? We had some success early, and Paul had some shots to leave, and he decided to stay, and he wanted to build this thing into a consistent winner like Matt has. It didn't work out for us, but I think what's cool is, again, his ability to recruit the quarterback position. Among the other things you mentioned, the toughness, where they're recruiting from, all that is accurate. The quarterback position, Rocco was a lightly recruited guy compared,
so was Brock. So was
Brock. And I think, NIL, evaluations matter. And whether it's the way the kids play the game or the intangibles in that position, I don't think you can put enough of a spotlight on hitting that quarterback. And when you're talking about Brock, who you hit in a way that, he's one of the highest paid guys in the NFL now and been to a Super Bowl. Again, I'm not belittling anything around the quarterback position, but unbelievable job developing, coaching, and recruiting that position for sure.
Yeah, listen, they got Rocco out of Tampa, Florida. Think how many programs passed on him to get to Iowa State. I mean, it's incredible when you think about it, and the fact that they've had at Iowa State, we're in Tallahassee, right? So Iowa State's been more successful recruiting quarterbacks and developing them than Florida State has since going back before since Jimbo left, since Willie and Mike have been here, which is remarkable because Rocco Beck just 4 hours from Tallahassee didn't get a sniff, and he's fixing to make a run at the college football playoff and Big 12 championship there at Iowa State. All right, so I want to hop around the Big 12 a little bit, and we can circle back to the Kansas State Iowa State game. But I do want to, speaking of Arizona State, Kenny Dillingham. He's a guy that has a lot of energy, says a lot of things that most college football coaches won't say. He's trying to raise money for a indoor facility that they're going to use for tailgating, and took his team to camp. And he's talking about, hey, if you want to keep Sam Levitt on Sun Devil, we need people to give this program so that we can compete in NIL. He's saying things that most people won't say. I did not know what kind of success he'd have as a head coach based off his experience here. He's a young guy, right? Had not led a program before. He does have Levitt back. A lot of expectations in Tempe. I think he's doing what most people should be able to do with that job. Now, you don't have a great recruiting base there in Phoenix, but you got access to California, to Texas, and but how do you see Kenny going into what I believe this is year 3 for Kenny at Arizona State, Jeff? And how do you see him being able to try to sustain this thing and be relative each year and each and every season?
Good. I mean, Kenny's the thing that I like about Dillingham, square peg, square hole, schematically, but also in a world of bullshit, the truth shines bright. And there's a lot of bullshit in coaching and recruiting. And the thing with Kenny, that when a lot of his guys before last season, a lot of guys transferred in, well, that means that you don't have as many roster spots. He's on social media promoting the guys that he has to find a roster spot somewhere else, not trying to sell them to keep him here. He's saying he's going to talk to him and say, I don't think you're going to play here, but I really like you as a person. Let me find you a spot where you can actually play. You can come here if you want. Like, that type of honesty goes a long way, which inspires more buy-in, which inspires more confidence, which inspires more buy-in. So it's the honesty and kind of matching that with everything. And you talk about lightning in a bottle. You guys Cam Scatterby last year. That dude is a monster. I think there's going to naturally be a step back for Arizona State, I think, because he covered a lot of mistakes. Where if you don't block a safety or a linebacker, he's going to truck him anyway and then end up with 15 yards. It's now, and they could always stay on schedule. When Levitt is the guy, is he going to be able to convert on a lot more 3rd and longs than he had to do last year? They weren't in 3rd and long a lot. If you give it to Cam Scattaboo, he's going to get you 6. Give it to Cam Scattaboo 5 times in a row, he's going to get you 30. So, I don't know. I think he'll be able to succeed. I wouldn't expect the same level, but I also never doubt Kenny Dillingham.
I was with Kenny at Florida State in 21, so he had ruptured a knee tendon. I had Achilles tendon ruptured. So we were doing rehab every morning in the hot and cold tub, contrast therapy from like 5:30 to 6. So I got to know Kenny a little bit in our time here. I'm with you. He is true to himself. Whatever Kenny was when he left here, he seems to be the same Kenny. He's a young guy. He's bold, like you said, Pat. But I do like that he's true to himself. That's the hardest thing to do when you're any age. But a young head coach, that many eyes, to be who you are and not try to be somebody else. And he, players reflect their coach, I think, in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
He has a huge chip on his shoulder. When you get around KD, he didn't play college ball, all those things. He has a huge chip on his shoulder, and he's been able to transfer that chip, in my opinion, onto those players. So I think it's neat to watch him be himself and have success.
I've always been an Arizona State fan, and he has slowly but surely won me over since he's gotten over there. Listen, I thought for a young guy, sometimes he preached too much during his press conferences at Florida State. And listen, and again, as you've told me, Shane, he was showing people that he wants to be a head coach and can talk. And you were right. You told me after your first year at Florida State that he was going to be a college football head coach at a big program. And listen, he's doing the right things there. It's fun to watch. He's a breath of fresh air in college football right now. So yeah, I think, and he's not a guy that's full of it. So I think it's gonna be fun. I'm with you, Jeff. I think it could be a little bit of drop off with some of the guys they lost, particularly Scatterbo.
But they got Jordan Tyson back, who's a really good wide receiver.
Yeah.
Really good wide receiver. So it'll be a different offense unless they grow Cam Scatterboos on trees.
All right. Well, you mentioned people that are full of it, so let's talk about one. Deion Sanders and the Colorado Buffaloes.
You hate him. Why?
I don't hate him. Listen, I was watching the Dallas thing last night on Netflix, and I can't. It's hard. It's you would think that you would remember his greatness on the field, right? But until you sit down and watch it again 20 years later, I mean, he might be one of the best football players of all time, regardless of position, maybe top 5. I mean, but of all time. But yeah, but anyway, no more. My 3 sons, Shiloh, Shador, and Travis, are all playing in the NFL. I think this is going to be a very interesting season in Boulder. You don't know what you got at quarterback. All your frontline guys have left, or the guys that they used to self-promote. I think it's going to be interesting. Deion's spent one whole press conference at Colorado talking about his son that's in the NFL. I think this is going to be an interesting season in Boulder, Jeff. Listen, I know Deion's a serious football guy. I think behind all the bluster, I think there is a hard-nosed football program there. I think he runs his practices the right way based off everything that I've heard. But what are you expecting out of Colorado in year 3 under Deion?
To me, they're the biggest wild card in the conference because I think preseason they're picked to be towards the bottom. But Deion doesn't lose much, like they weren't great a couple years ago and then took them to 9-3 like that. And no one expected him to be good. Now, granted, you have Shador as your quarterback, who is a mixed bag, both really good and really bad. And you have the Heisman Trophy winner playing wide receiver and corner. I think this will be his first year as a head coach without Shador as his quarterback. So what does that look like?
Right.
And I think that if he's able to then instill the same, because the thing that Colorado has, they played with swagger. And once the difference between 23 and the 24 season is they had swagger in both, but they didn't have toughness. And last year they actually had toughness. Like they got their asses run by Nebraska in week 2. From that point forward, I think they went, was it like 8-1 or something like that for the back half of the season, and they were able to stop the run. They actually established the running game. They were more gap sound. They actually played football the right way, and they had swagger. So to me, if he can do that, it's still possible. So Colorado is one of those teams that like they could be 10-2 and be like, oh my God, what a story. They could also win 2 games. Like they could be anywhere among the spectrum. So will he do it? I don't know. I don't expect him to, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did.
Yeah, their schedule's tough. Listen, I think it's going to be interesting to see how he handles the quarterback situation. They flipped Julian Lewis late in the process. He's a true
Liberty
freshman.
kid, right?
Yeah, that's Caden Salter, the kid they brought in from Liberty. So I think it's going to be interesting to see. You got a senior, you got a freshman. Will he play both? Will who they spend the money on? All of that. I think it's going to be interesting to see how that pans out. Go ahead, Shane.
I think you graduate the edge guys, the skill guys, and the quarterback, which is huge. But you would think now in year 3, the line of scrimmage between growing their own and the portal, that they've made a huge leap there. So maybe that offsets.
And I also wonder how much of the quote bad offensive line play was the fact that Shedeur held the ball for 14 seconds. There's a reason why he dropped to the 5th round. It's just because there was some mechanics problems. Kid can sling it when he gets rid of it on time. But a lot of times he's taking a sack that he doesn't need to take because he's in the wrong spot. He moves in the pocket not the right way. A lot of good, a lot of bad. So this Colorado is interesting to me.
Yep. All right. I know we got about 5 more minutes with you, maybe. So a couple quick hitters. The team that nobody's talking about because they had a bad year last year, Utah, Kyle Whittingham. I think he's one of the best coaches in college football. Brings in Devin Dampier from either UNLV or somewhere, Montana State, I don't know where, New Mexico, with his new offensive coordinator. Listen, they never could get it going with Cam Rising the last 2 years. He was constantly hurt.
The last 7 years, the kid was hurt.
Yeah.
He was in the same high school recruiting class as Brock Purdy. You know that?
No, I did not know that.
Cam Rising, same high school recruiting class as Brock Purdy.
So what do you think Utah's going to do?
Man, Utah.
I think they're a wild card in the Big 12.
I don't want to play Utah, man. No. We played them once. We got our asses handed to us. But the way that Whittingham builds a program, they've had a non-offensive touchdown at home every season for I think now 21 straight seasons. That's not an accident. That is a trend. So how do you get that? It's ball pressure, that we're gonna play every ball aggressively. We're gonna be really strong in the return game, and we're gonna have dogs on the defensive line. If they could put together an offense in years that they have put together an offense, they're really hard to beat. And so really, if this Dampier kid can make their offense even remotely competent, how good they are defensively and on special teams, like that is the baseball example to me is when you have a pitcher that throws strikes, as long as you can if you can get to 6 runs, 5 runs, you're going to win that game. And that's the thing that a really good defensive line, good special teams will allow you to do is it puts you in every game. I mean, Iowa State, I covered the Iowa State. I didn't go out there, but just was responsible for the Iowa State-Utah game. I think Iowa State outgained them by 200 yards, and they won by 4 points. Defense and special teams. They blocked a kick. They returned an interception back to like the 10-yard line. Like they just are so good at the intangibles. And Whittingham is awesome at that. I do not want to play Utah. Like they're big, they're physical. They got a lot of they are such a feeding ground for the California, like the West Coast, like the Polynesian and Tongan culture, which really prides itself on strength and work ethic. That is what Utah is. So to me, they did a haka when they were at Iowa State, which was just fun to watch. It wasn't intimidating. We just got our asses kicked, but it was cool to watch. But like that's the spirit. I don't know. Utah's going to be really good. Texas Tech is the other team, and I keep mentioning Texas Tech because they have such expectations. Kansas State, Iowa State is a really big game in week 0. Texas Tech at Utah is the first conference game for both of those teams. That is going to be those two games are the biggest early Big 12 games for me across the entire conference.
Have you been to Salt Lake yet? Have you had a chance to go watch that's Rice Eccles yet, Jeff?
No, I will. I mean, I would love.
You're gonna love that trip.
I would that one and BYU. I want to go to Provo.
Yeah. I worked. Go ahead, Jay.
One of the tougher places to play in the Big 12. I said Big 12.
I think they've lost. I think they've lost. Iowa State beat them last year at night, and I think that was their 4th night game loss at home since 2001.
Yeah, that's tough, man.
Yeah, listen, that's a great place. I got the chance to spent a lot of time in that stadium while I was working with the Alliance of American Football. Our Salt Lake team played there. It was really cool. I think if he turns this program around this year, he's getting ready to turn the program. I think this could be Whittingham's last year if he can go out a winner. He said at Big 12 Media Days he did not want to go out with a losing season. I think they've already named Morgan Scalley the head coach in waiting. So one more question for you. Listen, he's one of my favorite personalities in college football.
Gundy?
That is Gundy, yeah, man. But Gundy's program imploded last year. I think he cleared out his entire staff. There's really no telling what is going to happen. I know there's a lot of pressure on him. It's hard to believe, as successful as he has been, that after a 3-9 season, that he's got pressure on him. But listen, not an easy start to the schedule. They got Tennessee, Martin, then they're at Oregon, then have another out of conference game, then Baylor, Arizona, Houston. But what are your expectations for Gundy and the Cowpokes in 2025?
They need a quarterback, man. Like, that's the thing. They haven't had a quarterback since hell. They had all.
That guy last year wasn't the answer.
Aiden Bowman. I mean, he was 26 or something like that, 27. But they had when Ollie Gordon was the show, but they had a competent passing attack. Is when they were able to get to the Big 12 title game. I believe that's the same year. Without a competent passing attack last year, teams would just load 9 guys in the box and say, Ollie Gordon, not you. Anybody else, not you. If they can get a passing attack, Gundy is as creative on offense as exists in football. And he can talk about true to yourself. You'd be hard-pressed to find a person who gives less of a shit of what people think of him than Mike Gundy. And so he's willing to take chances. He's willing to turn over his roster. He's willing to do whatever. So can you get a quarterback to actually execute an offense? If you do, they could be really good. They're always going to be defensively in the right spot. Do they have the horses to make it run? Maybe. Do they have the quarterback to make it run? Maybe. If they do, that could be a team that could beat anybody. But until they have a proven quarterback that can actually execute an offense, it'll be hard for me. Again, we the same thing with like West Virginia. This conference is going to be really good. Like, if you were to plunk any of those top 8 teams, you put Utah in the ACC, where do they finish? Top 3, top 4? Yep. You put TCU in the Big 10, where do they finish? Top 4, top 5, top 6, maybe? Like, where do these teams are all really good? Is there going to be enough margin for error for Gundy with the talent that he has? I don't know, maybe.
Yeah. And that's a guy who's had this track record, much like probably Iowa State. He hit on quarterbacks that necessarily weren't the most highly recruited guys, and they had success regardless of who it was. So it's surprising they've had trouble the last couple of years doing that. And also, to your point, Pat, you go back, that guy's done an unbelievable job. He's an alum. And I know he and T. Boone probably wore their welcome out with him flirting with other jobs over the years. That was probably what has hurt him now. That
he needed some of T. Boone's money. He needs some.
Well, it's just the patience is so thin. He has 3-9, and now they want to throw him out of the building. That's coaching for you, and he's been there a long time. I know. So, but golly, a consistent winner. You'd like to think they'd have more patience with him, but I agree. He's on the hot seat.
Well, I think it's a big year for him. Listen, I think he may get tired of it at the end of the day. I'm not sure how much he enjoys NIL and portal. I think we're talking about a lot of the older, more established coaches. Listen, we saw what it did to Saban. I think that's probably a little bit of why Whittingham's kind of ready to maybe think about it. I think he does want to turn over that program the right way. Now, listen, I know you got to go, Jeff, so we're going to wrap it up. But we appreciate you joining us. Listen, what final thoughts on KU, K-State, and Iowa State as we go? Obviously, you're an Iowa State guy, but just to come full circle, what do you expect from this game? Are you ready to pick a winner? Or are we so far into this thing with NIL and portal that we don't even know what we've got till we see it for the first time?
I think we're more the latter. But I think these two teams do a really good job between Kleiman and Campbell of building culture, building who are we, and if we get new guys, you're gonna match the culture. We might tweak the scheme here or there, but we're gonna match the culture. So what is Iowa State? What is Kansas State? They are detailed. They are executing where you need to execute. They are taking care of the ball, and they are taking the ball away. All right. Well, if you're playing the team that looks just like you do, with an experienced quarterback who's got a lot of explosive capacity and talented running backs and a defense that plays physical, I use a golf example. When you miss the fairway, do you miss the fairway in the rough or do you miss the fairway in the water? That's the kind of thing you're going to see in week 0. You're not going to play a perfect round of golf, air quotes, in this.
Yep.
So can you keep the ball out of the water? Can you not get a punt block for a touchdown? Do you not turn the ball over 3 times? Do you not go 3 and out 4 times in a row because you have 3 holding penalties and a false start? The kind of mistakes that will lose you a game, especially against a team like the other one, which is generally so disciplined. So it's hard for me to think that this game is going to be anything but close, unless there are some egregious mistakes made only by one team. So I think Iowa State's downside is lower because Avery Johnson has shown the capacity to turn the ball over when he is in necessary throwing downs. So if Iowa State's able to stop the run, force Kansas State to be in necessary throwing downs, then you're going to get turnovers, you're going to get sacks, you're going to get safeties, things like that. But if they can't stop the run, Kansas State's just going to be able to stranglehold the ball and just keep the ball for 37 minutes and good luck winning them. So I think Iowa State wins, but I have absolutely no confidence in that pick because of how similar these 2 teams are.
Well, you better stay Iowa State. You live right there, and your business is supported by those Cyclones. You better say Iowa State, damn it. I'd be disappointed if you didn't. I like you, the first game, always interesting, Pat, and I know this from growing up around Coach Bowden, special teams, week 0, week 1, the speed of the game and your ability to just hit, if it's not a block punt even, Jeff, hidden yardage and your ability to execute, that always makes me nervous as a coach. But I'm with you. I'm taking the Cyclones. Pat?
I got K-State.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair, man. Like if Kansas State wins this game, I would not be surprised. I would be.
And the reason I got it is because what you said about an hour ago, Jeff, that the quarterback at K-State runs a 4.3. I think in the early part of the season, at least in my opinion, the tackling is not as good as it is because of the way teams practice. That kid's a little bit more elusive. I think we see it. I see it here every year where the tackling gets better as the year goes on at Florida State. Although last year it didn't get better at all. But we'll talk about that another time. So I've got PTSD. Sorry, can't get over it. But yeah, so I'm going with K-State because of Avery Johnson. I think you could see more big plays in this game than you'll see as these defenses move along in the year. But hey, listen, we want to thank Jeff Woody from ESPN, former Iowa State running back, for joining us on the Burnham Brothers College Football Podcast. And we are going to try to have Jeff on as much as we possibly can during the season to talk Cyclones in the Big 12. Jeff, we appreciate it, man.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man. Anytime, you're welcome. We'd love to do a Big 12 hit with you during the course of every week during the season. And of course, we want to hear your stories from the road because listen, those pre-production meetings that you guys are going to have with the players and coaches are fascinating. I used to sit in on them at South Florida. They did them in my office. So whenever they came to talk to Jim Levitt or Skip Holtz or the coordinators, I got to sit there and listen to them. And the background stories you hear are neat. And you get to see a side of those coaches and announcers, which was more interesting to me. You got to hear personal stories. I think you're going to enjoy the hell out of your job. And that's an awesome job, man.
I'm so pumped. So pumped.
Yeah. All right, Jeff, thanks for joining us. And we also want to take a few minutes to thank our sponsors. The Burnham Brothers College Football Podcast is brought to you by Ascension Sports, where elite athletes rise above the noise, whether you're navigating NIL deals.
All right, I'm going to putz up. Thank you, guys.
NIL deals, building your personal brand, or preparing for the next level. Ascension Sports provides tailored consulting to help maximize every opportunity on and off the field, whether it's recruiting insight to pre-draft prep and everything in between. Learn more at ascensionsportsconsulting.com. We also want to thank Todd and Scott Harrell at Home Instead of Tallahassee. At Home Instead, their adaptable care plans give you the confidence of personalized help that's with you throughout your day. Even though we know there are plenty of things you still want to fly solo on, like finishing your daily crossword puzzle, aqua aerobics, watching baseball, or just hogging the remote, Home Instead will provide companionship when you need it and space when you don't, all with a smile from qualified, compassionate caregivers matched to you. Visit Home Instead online for a better what's next at homeinsteadtally.com. We also want to thank Dan Mowry and the Mowry Law Firm. Dan Mallory and his team of lawyers bring over 50 years of experience with them and specialize in car and truck accidents, premises liability, and wrongful death cases. Dan and his team are based out of St. Augustine, Florida, and can be reached at 904-824-7799 or at MalloryLaw.com. All right, Shane, that was fun, man. Jeff was a great guest.
He was. I love reconnecting with these guys. You see him 10 years later. I guess the last time I saw him was probably 15, but coached him for the last year in 2012. Really fun to watch these guys have success and whatever they're pursuing. And for him in football, really cool.
Now, remember when we started talking about this, you started being worried that an hour was too long. And now that we're, 5 weeks into this thing, an hour goes by that. I mean, we did not even get to half of the Big 12. I mean, I love these conversations and the side stories that spin off of them. And listen, I think if you're, yeah, well, I know, but you'll get over it. You'll learn. But listen, I think these conversations are great, and I think it's the one reason if you're a college football fan, you want to listen to this podcast. There's some neat backstories. All these guys we are connected with throughout our football life. But Jeff was he was in a hurry. We hope to have him back, but I hope you enjoyed that podcast and hope that you listen. We're looking forward to listening to his expertise on the Big 12 throughout the year. And we'll be back on Friday. I believe we're going to have Corey Bender to talk a little Florida football. And then Shane and I are going to take a look at some video clips, what they said, what we heard. We've pulled up some video clips from college coaches throughout college football that has been said over the last 7 or 8 days. We're kind of going to dissect what they're talking about and give you our insight on trying to explain, like we did last week with Auburn, and they're not going to have 3 play callers. But Shane, how excited are you that we're going to get to see football on Saturday?
Here we go. We got several of the kids I represent, so I'm personally excited because I've never played fantasy football before, Pat, but it's going to be neat to watch Fresno State. Got 2 guys playing, Jazon Jacks and Finn Claypool on their defensive line. And we have Matt Entz playing for UNLV as they take on Idaho State. And we have an offensive lineman, Alex Tott, with Tarleton State. So, yeah, I'm excited. I'll be in front of my TV.
I will too, all day, all night. And that'll be every Saturday from here until the college football playoff is over. All right, we appreciate everybody joining us for, I believe, what is episode 14 of the Burnham Brothers College Football Podcast. So if you're watching us on YouTube, please hit the subscribe and like button. We want you to like it, but more importantly, want you to subscribe. So please hit that. It won't take you 5 seconds. And then, of course, we'll be back on Friday with another show. And we're going to think about possibly doing a quick recap show from the college football weekend on Sunday. So
we are.
Okay,
well, there
you go.
Listen,
I like to keep you on the edge of your seat.
Great job.
Yeah. All right.
I'll let Megan know. I'll let the girls know.
Maybe not. Listen, I could probably do it myself or have a guest on. Right. Shane, I appreciate it, buddy. Thanks for hooking us up with Jeff. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll talk to you the next time on the Burnham Brothers College Football Podcast.
Go Clone.